How do you relate computer simulation to scientific computing? To answer this question, I will start with the definition from Jean Golub and James Ortega, where they say scientific computing is a collection of tools, techniques, and theories required to solve on a computer mathematical models or problems in science and engineering. With this, let's draw a picture in mind of a toolbox and continue with the definition of computer simulation from Wisber, where it says it is narrowest sense. A computer simulation is a program that runs on a computer and that uses step-by-step methods to explore the approximation behavior on a mathematical model. More broadly, we can think of computer simulation as one comprehensive method for studying systems. Now let's think for computer simulation as a driller. With both pictures in mind, let's the toolbox as a science that uses multiple tools to solve a problem, and the driller as one of the tools that conduct experiments in order to solve a problem. The idea is to explain that the way both elements are related is that computer simulation is one of the tools that scientific computer use to solving problems. Now for the question, what is a computer simulation and what is a computer game? Compare and contrast how they are similar and how they differ. I will take as a reference a description from Becker and Parker of the computer simulation, where they say a simulation is really just an implementation of a model. And to be more clear, they also define a model as the way of describing a system, whether if it's real or fantastic. And for computer games, AGE defines a game is a rule-based formal system with a variable and quantifiable outcomes, where the first outcomes are assigned different values. Based on this previous definition, it's easy to say that in the big picture, both of kind of the implementation of a model. However, looking into details, some difference appears like at the presentation level, it can be drastically different. Usually a game will be more visually attractive and a simulation is straightforward and just presenting numbers and specific results related to the model. Another difference are the types of models that both represent. Simulations are going to be more related to represents reality, and games will embrace more fantastic models. Finally, I will say the goal usually push in different directions. Games are driven by entertainment, and simulations are more driven to solve a problem in the reality. Now for the question. Simulations and games need to communicate with the user. How will you decide what channels a simulation slash games should use for communications to and from the user? Why would you exclude the channel that you exclude? Feel free to use your idea for your project to illustrate this point. When we look into the channels to communicate information to the user, we found the visual, the audio, and the kinetical. And the main question to answer is which are the more effective or appropriate ways to share the information? Because it's not always good to take all channels in consideration. If we, if we use all the channels every time, it can be a distraction in the process of delivering the information, a waste of time and resource. However, some cases like my proposal of the immersive drone driving simulator, each of the channels could be useful, but because of the short time and the lack of hardware necessary for the canonical channel has been excluded. The goal of the simulation it will still be covered because the user will experience many of the symptoms of being under the influence of the alcohol while driving, and the idea of the experience any type of motion from some hardware as a reaction to the visual environment doesn't add much to the goal of the simulation.